All right, joining me now is Alex Macias, owner operator of Rubiks over in the West Side El Paso over on Mesa. Alex, thanks for joining me, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Just tell everyone a little bit about Rubiks. What is it, if they don't know?
Well, it's a Retrocade bar. It's been there for over 5 years now. We started about 5 years ago. We're going on our finishing up our 5th year, getting ready to start our 6th year. We did a major remodel to the bar in February. We closed down for the whole month of February for 5 weeks and remodeled the whole bar. We opened up on March the 6th for the remodel that weekend, and we had to shut down 9 days later because of COVID. But the bar's completely been remodeled, and we're going to do a bar right next to it where Reels used to be. And that bar is going to be called the Mad Hatter, which is going to be a kind of an Alice in Wonderland theme bar right next to Rubiks, and we're going to be opening up that here pretty soon too, as soon as we're able to.
That's pretty crazy, man. What made you want to do something like this here in El Paso?
I've been collecting arcade games for a long time, and the first game I bought was a game called Kung Fu Master that I bought probably maybe 12 years ago off of eBay and overpaid for it immensely. And then I just started, I started collecting games here and there, and I sold one of my cars I collected to buy my first, couple pinball machines, and then I got into this place in Fabens called Flicks, where they had. They asked me if I could route some games in there. So my wife actually traded in her stock option she had at Kohl's, which was like $5,000 at the time. And we used all that money to buy games and put them into Flicks. And then every month I would use that money. I would just use that money to buy games. I wouldn't use it for anything else. And a couple of times, we would have started up Rubiks earlier, but my wife and I would get into some kind of financial issue and I'd have to sell some games or whatever like that. But I was a school teacher for 17 years. And finally I was able to get a pretty good, stockpile of games and pinball machines. I built an arcade in my house. And I converted the garage and the back room of the garage to an arcade. We would have 80s parties and things like that. People would come over like, why don't you do a bar like this? Why don't you do a bar like this? And so that's kind of how Rubiks kind of started. And then it's kind of grown from there. And then we have Rad Retrocade in Las Cruces. It's pretty amazing. And then we're going to actually start another arcade bar called Rad in Santa Fe, New Mexico next year.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So
I've been to the one in Cruces, man. That one's cool too.
Yeah, it's 2 stories. We're not even finished with that one yet because Cruces actually. It's funny how everything happened with Cruces. Cruces, we've been busy just nonstop from when we opened, and there's a place called Zia Comics that's right next to Rubiks. I mean to Rad in Las Cruces. Excuse me, Rad.
Yeah.
And my son is, 2.5 years old at the time. And we were, he wanted to go to his comic book shop to check something out. So we went over there and COVID had just started hitting and, it was all, everybody's talking about it like it's contagious. We didn't know much about it. This was early March and it was on a Saturday and I had my son with me and then I was going to walk in the back of Rad and I thought, you know what, I don't want to take him in there. And at that moment I thought, if I can't take my son in there, then why are we open? So that day I came home with my wife and said, look, we need to shut down Rad because it's just not safe. If I can't even take my son in there, then why am I expecting other people to go in there? And so we know more about this virus and what's going on. So actually my wife and I went home that day and decided to shut down Rad. And we shut down Rad that Monday. Then the state shut us down like 3 days later. And we just opened up Rubiks because Rubiks had been shut down for 5 weeks. And we talked to the staff, and the staff had been out of work for already 5 weeks. They said, look, we only have a few more days. We're going to shut down Rubiks as well because, we didn't know about the virus. We didn't know what was going on with it. We didn't know how deadly it was or whatever. So we actually shut down Rubiks on the 16th of March. And then, we've been shut down since.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, I know it's something hard to do as a tough decision to do, but I mean, you got to look out for your employees and for your customers for something like that. It being so it's being so unknown, like how it could affect the person. It affects everyone so different. I mean, I know if the COVID has affected your businesses by you having to shut them down. Can you talk a little bit about some of the procedures for the openings, and especially maybe for both, since you have Rad and Cruces and one in El Paso and Rubiks in El Paso? How different are they going to be, or Can you?
It'll be the same. I mean, it's not going to be very much different from what we do now. We've always had hand sanitizing stations in the bars. We've always had those little, stations you have hand sanitizers. Um, we've always had a cleaning crew. Since the day we opened Rubiks, we have a cleaning crew that goes in every night after we close and completely sanitizes and cleans the entire bar. We've never gotten below a 97 on the health report.
Nice.
People with the health department come and say, well, you guys are like one of the cleanest bars we've seen. So we've always been very meticulous about that, about the cleaning. We'll have to just be more stringent about it while customers are in the bar until we find out more information. I've read reports that the CDC said it's not even on surface to surface contact anymore. And it's more from speaking and sneezing and coughing and things like that. But we don't know yet. So, I mean, now they're saying it might not even be possible to play a game of pool and then somebody else plays pool and they get it. They say it doesn't work like that. So, all the information is changing. So we'll just adapt to how things are going. But, the main thing is we want our customers to know that whatever we are doing, we'll be following CDC guidelines to make sure the customers are safe.
Right. What are some of the things that you might enforce or maybe ask the customers to do in both places when and if you guys open?
Well, it's kind of tough to tell them to wear a mask because it is a bar and they want to feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. Things like that. Same thing with the employees. I will ask my employees to wipe down the games a little more often than they usually do. Wipe down the games, you just have somebody there wiping them down consistently until we, like I said, till we know more of what's going on. And just ask customers if they're feeling ill, if they have any kind of fever or whatever, just, stay home, don't come in.
Cool. And then let's see, and just from the business aspect, I mean, can you talk a little bit about, can you talk a little bit of how your employees were affected at your locations? And if there's
it's been really rough on the employees, especially in Cruces. The unemployment thing was really tough to go, and we have 41 employees in Las Cruces, and they've all filed for unemployment, and they're getting their benefits, things like that. Same thing with Rubiks; they've filed for unemployment. But come July, the extra $600 a week, that's going to stop, and that's when things are going to really get tough because they're making, they're still making their bills and stuff like that with unemployment and things like that. But when that runs out, what are we going to do? We need to get back up and open again. My wife and I, it's scary from one day to the next. Mm-hmm. You want to be callous to the fact that people in the community are dying and people are getting sick, and that's the most important thing. I have my son turns 3 on Monday, and my daughter's 7 months old, and I get up every day and I'm scared. I don't want them to get sick. I don't. That's the scary part of it. So that kind of supersedes everything as far as the business goes, because businesses can be rebuilt, things like that, but you don't want to get people sick. Yeah. So I want people to think that, I want my business open and I'm going down because of this. I mean, there's a lot of people who are in a lot worse shape off than we are right now, and they're hurting just as much as we are as far as the business wise goes. Right. But we really just want to make sure it's the right time to open, but it's going to be safe to open, and that's kind of where we're going from there. But it's been tough. It's tough from one day to the next. Your livelihood stops. I mean, from one day to the next, you're making money, your business is going. Rubiks was doing really good with the revamp, and then from one day to the next, done. It just stops.
I mean, I mean, so many people have been affected from it.
Right.
I know business owners and everything like that are, as well as their employees, but it's just like, so it'll feel so good to open again. And I know that it sounds like you guys are taking care of your employees. You're going to take care of the customers too. Mm-hmm. And I mean, is there any, are you guys going to be posting any information on websites or Facebook?
Yeah, it'll be on our Instagram. Because right now the state has not allowed us to have arcade games. They're not allowed to be on. Pool tables aren't allowed to be used. You can't use dartboards. If you use the jukebox, you have to use it from your telephone app. Mm-hmm. But you can't have any kind of interactive gaming. And that's just kind of what Rubiks is. So we don't see a point right now to open at 25% capacity with how are things going to go, what's going to happen with the spike in cases, things like that.
Right.
And if they're saying, they're not sure if games are safe right now or not, then we just really can't operate as, until this is all cleared up.
Right. If you don't mind, if I can ask, do you guys have a possible backup plan on if you guys have to stay shut down a little longer?
We're gonna write it out. We've applied for government aid. We've had some loans that we've been able to get to actually keep us afloat. but those run out really, really fast, and you got to pay those back. So that's really scary to take out loans to get, just to keep the rent and keep the electricity going, because we have things in the bar, we can't shut the electricity down.
Right.
So that goes by pretty fast. So we have a little bit more time to where we can kind of get by a little bit, but it's going to run out pretty quick. And at that point, we just have to see what's going to happen at that point. We don't really have a backup plan. I mean, we're in the bar business, and if the bars aren't open, that's what we do.
Mm.
So
any advice to other local business owners, especially local bar owners? Any advice you'd want to give them with your experience so far with this, having to deal with the pandemic and shutting down your businesses? Any advice to them you'd like to share?
Oh, a lot of the bars are open already. I mean, they're operating right now, and they seem to be doing what they need to be doing to keep the public safe. We're just waiting for the right time for Rubiks to open, and when it opens back up, and then the Mad Hatter next door will be opening sometime whenever it's safe. But just keep your customers safe and tell the public to stay safe. If they don't feel well, just stay home, and hopefully we don't see a big spike in case in the next few weeks, because that's really going to be the telltale sign of what's happening here.
Yeah, I personally, I just wish people would have kind of stayed home and kind of followed the guidelines, because it would have went down, and it's just really disappointing to see how some of the public has handled this pandemic and just kind of didn't take it seriously. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I have children as well, and I'm afraid for them too. I wouldn't want to get them sick, and I also have family members that are older that kind of fit that demographic that can get more sick or worse, and we stay away because we don't want anything to happen to them.
My grandmother's 99 years old, and she's in a nursing home right now. She had a fall a few months ago, so we can't go see her, and she's 99, so she's terrified. She's there by herself. We can't go see her. I haven't seen my family. I've stayed home. I mean, because it's important. I don't want to affect other people, other people's business, things like that. But now everybody's out now. We're gonna see what happens now. But you're right. It went from very little to a lot of cases very quickly. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks.
Yeah, hopefully things work out. I personally can't wait to go back to either one of your locations, Rubiks or Rad over in Las Cruces. I enjoyed both of them. Almost all your games I've either played or I played since I was a little kid too. So I mean, it's the same nostalgia that a lot of people feel when they get to go to your bar. And I'm just excited. If you don't mind, can you share your Instagram account name so maybe people can follow you, maybe just keep up?
It's Rubiks Arcade Bar, all one word, just Rubiks Arcade Bar, and then the other one is Rad Retrocade for Las Cruces. If you guys want to follow us, it's been the same way. I know a couple of guys that own arcade bars in the Southwest and around the country, and they're not going to be opening anytime soon either. So the whole game thing, they just don't know yet, but they'll get it cleared up, and we'll get back on track again. But I'd like to invite people to come and check out Rubiks again, because we actually did do a whole revamp and remodel to the bar. It's pretty amazing in there now. All the walls are wrapped. There's nothing when we started Rubiks, I was a school teacher for 17 years, and my wife was HR for Kohl's, and our other partner lived in Las Vegas, and we've never opened a bar before. So now that we've learned over the last 5 years, we learned what we made Rad. I think it's a really cool bar, and so Rubiks has a lot of the things we wish we would have done from the beginning, and now we know this would have been cool, and this would have been cool. So it doesn't have as many games now. So we took a lot. There's a lot of games that I have. I love this game. This game was my favorite when I was a kid. No one played it, and it was really hard to take those games. I'm like, people would just play it. It's such a cool game, and I took a lot of those games out because they just weren't getting played. So we put in the world's largest Pac-Man Galaga's in there. We have air hockey in there now. We have pool in there now. We have Injustice. The new Injustice game is in there that gives you cards and things like that. And we have actually a whole new toy crane. We have a whole section in the back that's kind of fenced off, or kind of has not fenced off, but it has a drink rail right there with carpeting, so you can actually play all the old retro games in the back. And we have more seating now for food, and the lighting's all been changed. It's really cool. We changed out the sign in the front and everything, so it's a lot more inviting. And the Mad Hatter is going to be a really cool bar next to it also. We just we were very close to finishing it, but I just didn't want to spend money on doing it when we were just so unsure what was going to happen. So the Mad Hatter still probably about a month after we were able to open up. It'd probably take us 3 to 4 weeks to get the Mad Hatter up and going, but it's a pretty cool bar too.
Awesome. Wow, that's. I mean, I just can't wait. I hope things clear up soon for you and all the other business owners out there, so that you guys can open up shop and start getting down to business, man.
Get back to life, get back to some kind of normalcy.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, I just want to thank you again for joining me. Please go visit Alex out there in El Paso at Rubiks on Mesa. And again, the location for Rad in Las Cruces, I'm so sorry.
It's 201 North Main. It's right across from the main plaza in downtown Las Cruces. And we'll be having one in Santa Fe Plaza. We'll be opening up sometime in between December to March of next year. December later this year, or March of next year. As soon as we had to kind of pump the brakes on that one too, because we didn't know what was going to happen. And it's very difficult to start a bar in New Mexico. The laws are very different. So
right, yeah.
We're still in the process of doing all that, but it's going to be, I think we're like 8 minutes from Meow Wolf. So it's kind of a cool thing too. But the one in Santa Fe is going to be really cool. So if anybody ever goes up there, we'll have a location up there here pretty soon.
All right. Can't wait to go to, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Check out Rubiks, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, Alex.
Oh, thank you guys. You all stay safe, El Paso. Thank you guys.